Bryce Duskett here on the Rural Radio Network. And today we're joined by Rocky Weber from the Nebraska Cooperative Council. He is the president and general counsel of the group. Rocky, it's great to have you here. Thanks for making time to look back on the year with us.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Bryce. It's always nice to come in and talk about Nebraska's farmer-owned cooperatives.
Let's talk about the year that it was, 2022. In just a few words, I guess, try to summarize the year that it was.
Well, I think it's a year of a lot of shifting dynamics coming out of the pandemic. I think that, certainly we've seen a lot of pricing increases. We've seen inflation that not only hits our farmer members, but it hits the cooperatives also. So their costs in labor costs and fuel costs and all types of things have certainly increased for the cooperatives. Their interest rates have gone up. And just again, we you and I have talked before, 2022 has continued and maybe even it has been an exacerbated farm labor crisis. The co-ops in 2022 employed about a little over 5,000 direct employees across the state of Nebraska, and we have over 500 job openings at this time. So that's been what 2022 has been, and the CEOs and boards of directors of these companies, those are the issues that they're dealing with, is making sure that they have the labor available to provide goods and services to their farmer owners.
Rocky, I want to talk more about those issues and how the groups are responding to them here in a second. You talked about 2022 is bouncing out of the pandemic. As you talk with the co-ops across Nebraska, have we fully rebounded from that, or how are we able to size that up?
Well, no, I don't think we have fully rebounded. I'm not sure that supply chains have fully rebounded. We've certainly seen issues with our rail system and shipping grain by rail. There's been delays and times we can't get trains moved after they're full and or get them in to fill them. That's been a huge issue this year as well. So we got the supply chains, we got the ports. The whole supply chain system kind of broke down during COVID, and we're still not quite through that. And I think also then the COVID relief measures from the federal government and all the money that's poured into COVID relief has now, created in some ways this inflationary system, which the response to that is the rise in interest rates. And of course, when cooperatives are buying grain and holding grain for farmers in order to increase the value of that for their farmer members, they're paying a lot of interest on inventories and getting inventories of fertilizer, farm chemicals, and seed in already for next year. The cost structure from COVID is entirely different than it was beforehand.
Rocky, it's interesting as you talk about all the challenges out there, one in particular about the labor. It's interesting to see how the co-ops in Nebraska have responded to that and trying to find some unique ways to bring talent on. I saw one of them just recently advertising a big sign-on bonus. As you look at the ways to recruit labor for your cooperative members, what's proven to be successful that you've heard?
Well, I don't know that any particular method has proven that successful, Bryce. Changes in and a lot of it is this is in the area of the CDL licensees and the transportation of goods back and forth to and from the farm. A federal law changed in February of 2021, which created a nationwide directory of any CDL holder that has a drug or alcohol violation while operating a vehicle, not necessarily while they're driving at work, but even on their own personal time. That directory freezes their ability to get a CDL, and that's taken about 90,000 truck drivers off the road nationwide. That has impacted us in Nebraska just as much as anything else. We have co-ops that are attempting to fill the gaps with seasonal migrant labor under the H-2A program. That works in some instances. In some instances, it doesn't work so well. We've been attempting very hard with Congress to see if we can effect some changes to make that easier. And my members have a lot of frustration right now with the inability of Congress to pass any type of reform in the immigration area that would help ease our labor crisis. And so that's going to continue to be a big issue. And I would guess one of the things this year too, Bryce, is that the co-ops are starting to automate more. For the first year in 2022, we had automated dry fertilizer spreaders and automated drones spraying in
Hmm.
fields. Now, these were on a test basis this year, but you're going to see an expansion of that in 2023 and beyond.
Yeah, a lot of the things we dealt with this year, whether it be success stories or some of those challenges, I'm sure going to be carrying over as we end the month here shortly, Rocky. As we do look to 2023, when it comes to uh, some of the regulatory things and the lobbying efforts of the Nebraska Cooperative Council, do you see more of an effort at the state level with the legislature and the new government in place here, or more on the federal level?
I would say probably there's going to be a little more action at the state level that we're interested in this year. You're going to see some changes, I think, coming to some of the grain warehouse and grain dealing laws, and we're certainly looking at those very carefully. And most of our members are licensed as warehouses and or dealers, and so we're going to be looking at that legislation very carefully. And we've been working with the Public Service Commission on that legislation. I think that's going to be an issue. We're looking at a few other things as well. I think that the legislators are going to be faced with a unique circumstance of a big budget surplus, but a lot of uncertainty about what the future holds. And so I think a large part of this session is going to be about what to do with that surplus and how that might be spent or saved. Certainly, and that impacts programs and money coming to agencies and things of that nature. So we'll be looking at all of those issues as soon as they start bill introduction on, I believe, January 4th this year.
Yeah, gonna be here before we know it.
It
Rocky, I
is.
know we just turned a calendar page, but with the new year comes some new excitement. Anything in particular you want to mention as we wrap up here about things you're excited about in year 2023?
Well, I think for the council, I think we're going to start a young producer leadership type academy. Not so much to model lead or anything like that, but to really provide some education and advocacy opportunities for young farmers through their cooperatives to get experience here in Lincoln dealing with the legislature, to get experience in Washington dealing with our delegation there, and to really have some very unique, we're very excited about it, some very unique educational opportunities. So that's the program we're going to be rolling out, I believe, this spring, and looking forward to that very much. So
Much to come in the new year. That is Rocky Weber, the president and general counsel of the Nebraska Cooperative Council. We appreciate the time, Rocky. Looking forward to all that's to come in 2023.
thanks, Bryce. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well.
All
On
right.
the Rural Radio Network, I'm Bryce Duskett reporting.